Hello, and welcome to the story by Bharati Mukherjee, The Management of Grief. A woman I don't know is boiling tea the Indian way in my kitchen. There are a lot of women I don't know in my kitchen, whispering and moving tactfully. They open doors, rummage through the pantry, and try not to ask me where things are kept. They remind me of when my sons were small on Mother's Day, or when Vikram and I were tired and they would make big sloppy omelets. I would lie in bed pretending I didn't hear them. Dr. Sharma, the treasurer of the Indo-Canadian Society, pulls me into the hallway. He wants to know if I am worried about money. His wife, who has just come up from the basement with a tray of empty cups and glasses, scolds him. Don't bother Mrs. Bav with mundane details. She looks so monstrously pregnant her baby must be days overdue. I tell her she shouldn't be carrying heavy things. Shayla, she says, smiling, this is the fifth. And then she grabs a teenager by his shirt tails. He slips his Walkman off his head. He has to be one of her 4 children. They have the same domed and dented foreheads. What's the official word now? She demands. The boy slips headphones back on. They're acting evasive, Ma. They're saying it could be an accident or a terrorist bomb. All morning the boys have been muttering, "Sikh bomb, Sikh bomb." The men, not using the word, bow their heads in agreement. Mrs. Sharma touches her forehead at such a word. At least they're stopped talking about space debris and Russian lasers. 2 radios are going in the dining room. They are tuned to different stations. Someone must have brought the radios down from my boys' bedrooms. I haven't gone into their rooms since Kusum came running across the front lawn in her bathrobe. She looked so funny. I was laughing when I opened the door. The big TV in the den is being whizzed through American networks and cable channels. Damn, some man swears bitterly. How can these preachers carry on like nothing's happened? I want to tell him that we're not that important. You look at the audience and at the preacher in his blue robe with his beautiful white hair and the potted palm trees under a blue sky, and you know they care about nothing. The phone rings and rings. Dr. Sharma's taking charge. We're with her, he keeps saying. Yes, yes, the doctor has given calming pills. Yes, yes, pills are having a necessary effect. I wonder if pills alone explain this calm. Not peace, just a deadening quiet. I was always controlled, but never repressed. Sound can reach me, but my body is tensed, ready to scream. I hear their voices all around me. I hear my boys and Vikram cry, "Mommy, Shayla," and their screams insulate me like headphones. The woman boiling water tells her story again and again. I got the news first. My cousin called from Halifax before 6 a.m. Can you imagine? He'd gotten up for prayers and his son was studying for medical exams and heard on a rock channel that something had happened to a plane. They said first it had disappeared from the radar, like a giant eraser just reached out. His father called me, so I said to him, "What do you mean something bad? You mean a hijacking?" He said, "Ben, there is no confirmation of anything yet, but check with your neighbors because a lot of them must have been on that plane." So I called poor Kusum straight away. I knew Kusum's husband and daughter were booked to go yesterday. Kusum lives across the street from me. She and Sadish had moved in less than a month ago. They said they needed a bigger place. All these people, the Sharmas and friends from the Indo-Canada Society, had been there for the housewarming. Sadish and Kusum made tandoori on their big gas grill, and even the white neighbors piled their plates high with that luridly red, charred, juicy chicken. Their younger daughter had danced, and even our boys had broken away from the Stanley Cup telecast to put in a reluctant appearance. Everyone took pictures for their albums and for the community newspaper. Another of our families had made it big in Toronto, and now I wonder how many of those happy faces are gone. Why does God give us so much if all along he intends to take it away? Kusum asked me. I nod. We sit on carpeted stairs, holding hands like children. I never once told him I loved him, I say. I was too much well-brought-up woman. I was so well brought up I never felt comfortable calling my husband by his first name. It's all right, Kasum says. He knew. My husband knew. They felt it. Modern young girls have to say it because what they feel is fake. Kasum's daughter Pam runs in with an overnight case. Pam's in her McDonald's uniform. "Mummy, you have to get dressed." Panic makes her cranky. "A reporter's on his way here." "Why?" "You want to talk to him in your bathrobe?" She starts to brush her mother's long hair. She's the daughter who's always in trouble. She dates Canadian boys and hangs out in the mall shopping for tight sweaters. The younger one, the goody-goody one, according to Pam, the one with a voice so sweet that when she sang bhajans for Ethiopian relief, even a frugal man like my husband wrote out a $100 check. She was on that plan. She was going to spend July and August with her grandparents because Pam wouldn't go. Pam said she'd rather waitress at McDonald's. "If it's a choice between Bombay and Wonderland, I'm picking Wonderland," she said. "Leave me alone," Kasum yells. "You know what I want to do. If I didn't have to look after you now, I'd hang myself." Pam's young face goes blotchy with pain. "Thanks," she says. "Don't let me stop you." "Hush," pregnant Sharma scolds Pam. "Leave your mother alone. Mr. Sharma will tackle the reporters and fill out the forms. He'll say what has to be said." Pam stands her ground. "You think I don't know what Mummy's thinking? Why her? That's what. That's sick. Mommy wishes my little sister were alive and I were dead." Kasum's hand in mine is trembling hot. We continue to sit on the stairs. She calls before she arrives, wondering if there's anything I need. Her name is Judith Templeton, and she's the appointee of the provincial government. "Multiculturalism?" I asked, and she says, "Partly, but that her mandate is bigger." "I've been told you knew many of the people on the flight," she said. "Perhaps if you agree to help us reach the others." She gives me time, at least, to put on tea water and pick up the mess in the front room. I have a few samosas from Kasum's housewarming that I could fry up, but then I think, why prolong this visit? Judith Templeton is much younger than she sounded. She wears a blue suit with a white blouse and a polka dot tie. Her blonde hair is cut short. Her only jewelry is pearl drop earrings. Her briefcase is new and expensive looking, a gleaming cordovan leather. She sits with it across her lap. When she looks out the front windows onto the street, her contact lenses seem to float in front of her light blue eyes. "What sort of help do you want from me?" I ask. She has refused the tea out of politeness, but I insist, along with some slightly stale biscuits. "I have no experience," she admits. "That is, I have an MSW, and I've worked in liaison with accident victims, but I mean I have no experience with a tragedy of this scale." "Who could?" I asked. "And with the complications of culture, language, and customs, someone mentioned that Mrs. Bob is a pillar because you've taken it more calmly." At this, perhaps I frown, for she reaches forward almost to take my hand. "I hope you understand my meaning, Mrs. Bob. There are hundreds of people in Metro directly affected like you, and some of them speak no English. There are some widows who've never handled money or gone on a bus, and there are old parents who still haven't eaten or gone outside their bedrooms. Some houses and apartments have been looted. Some wives are still hysterical. Some husbands are in shock and in profound depression. We want to help, but our hands are tied in so many ways. We have to distribute money to some people, and there are legal documents. These things can be done. We have interpreters, but we don't always have the human touch. Or maybe the right human touch. We won't want to make mistakes, Mrs. Bob, and that's why we'd like to ask you to help us." "More mistakes, you mean," I say. "Police matters are not in my hands," she answers. "Nothing I can do will make any difference," I say. "We must all grieve in our own way." "But you are coping very well. All the people said. Mrs. Bob is the strongest person of all. Perhaps if others could see you, talk with you, it would help them." "By the standards of the people you call hysterical, I am behaving very oddly and very badly, Miss Templeton. I want to say, I wish I could scream, starve, walk into Lake Ontario, jump from a bridge. They would not see me as a model. I do not see myself as a model. I am a freak. No one who has ever known me would think of me reacting this way. This terrible calm will not go away. She asks me if I may call again after I get back from a long trip that we must all make. Of course, I say. Feel free to call any time. 4 days later I find Kasum squatting on a rock overlooking a bay in Ireland. It isn't a big rock, but it juts sharply out over water. This is as close as we'll ever get to them. June breezes balloon out her sari and unpin it, her knee-length hair. She has the bewildered look of a sea creature whom the tides have stranded. It's been 100 hours since Kasum came stumbling and screaming across my lawn. Waiting around the hospital, we've heard many stories. The police, the diplomats, they tell us things thinking that we're strong, that knowledge is helpful to the grieving, and maybe it is. Some I know prefer ignorance or their own versions. The plane broke into two, they say. Unconsciousness was instantaneous. No one suffered. My boys must have just finished their breakfasts. They loved eating on planes. They loved the smallness of the plates, the knives and forks. Last year they saved the airline salt and pepper shakers. Half an hour more and they would have made it to Heathrow. Kasum says that we can't escape our fates. She says that all those people, our husbands, my boys, her girl with a nightingale voice, all those Hindus, Christians, Sikhs, Muslims, Parisis, and atheists on that plane were fated to die together off this beautiful bay. She learned this from a Swami in Toronto. I have my volume. 6 of us relatives, 2 widows and 4 widowers, chose to spend the day today by the waters instead of sitting in a hospital room scanning photographs of the dead. That's what they call us now, relatives. I've looked through 27 photos in 2 days. They're very kind to us. The Irish are very understanding. Sometimes understanding means freeing a tourist bus for this trip to the bay so we can pretend to spy our loved ones through the glassiness of waves or in sun-speckled cloud shapes. I could die here too and be content. What is that out there? She's standing and flapping her hands, and for a moment I see a head shape bobbing in the waves. She's standing in the water, I on the boulder. The tide is low, and a round, black-headed, sky-sized rock has just risen from the waves. She returns, her sari dripping and ruined, and her face in a twisted remnant of hope, the way mine was 100 hours ago, still laughing, but inwardly knowing that nothing but the ultimate tragedy could bring 2 women together at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning. I watch her face sag into blankness. That water felt warm, Shayla, she said at length. You can't, I say. You have to wait for our turn to come. I haven't eaten in 4 days, haven't brushed my teeth. I know, she says. I tell myself I have no right to grieve. They are in a better place than we are. My Swami says depression is a sign of our selfishness. Maybe I'm selfish. Selfishly, I break away from Kasum and run, sandals slapping against stone to the water's edge. What if my boys aren't lying pinned under the debris? What if they aren't stuck a mile below that innocent blue chop? What if, given the strong currents... Now I've ruined my sari, one of my best. Kasum has joined me, knee-deep in water, what feels to me like a swimming pool. I could settle in the water, and my husband would take my hand, and the boys would slap water in my face just to see me scream. Do you remember what good swimmers my boys were, Kasum? I saw the medals, she says. One of the widowers, Dr. Ranganthanan from Montreal, walks out to us, carrying his shoes in one hand. He's an electrical engineer. Someone at the hotel mentioned his work is famous around the world, something about the place where physics and electricity come together. He has lost a huge family, something indescribable. With some good luck, Doctor suggests to me, a good swimmer could make it safely to some island. It's quite possible that there may be many, many microscopic islets scattered around. You're not just saying that, I tell Doctor about Vinod, my elder son. Last year he took diving as well. It's a parent's duty to hope, he says. It is foolish to rule out possibilities that have not been tested. I myself have not surrendered hope. Kasum is sobbing once again. Dear lady, he says, laying his free hand on her arm, and she calms down. Vinod is how old, he asks me. He's very careful, as we all are. Is, not was. 14. Yesterday he was 14. His father and uncle were going to take him to the Taj and give him a big birthday party. I couldn't go with them because I couldn't get 2 weeks off for my stupid job in June. I processed bills for a travel agent. June is a big travel month.